Welcome back to another episode of Quick Picks with the Geek. I am your host, Bro Power the Geek. You ever see a fight booking and think, wait, is this a charity match? Because when you read those betting odds and see Mike Davis at minus 900, it's like Vegas is trying to gently nudge you away from making bad decisions. But hey, this is MMA, where plus 600 dogs occasionally bite, and sometimes they bite hard. We got Mike Davis taking on Mitch Ramirez. So let's break it down, because both these guys came to scrap, even if one of them probably shouldn't have. Mitch, the fight stalker Ramirez, coming in as a plus 600 underdog with a record of 8-2. First of all, the fight stalker is either the name of a UFC fighter or the next Netflix true crime doc. Either way, I'm watching. Mitch Ramirez rolls in with a chip on his shoulder, a power right hand, and the kind of backstory that makes you root for him real hard. We're talking drug addiction, incarceration, full redemption arc. The only thing missing is a training montage in the rain while his coach screams, "You gotta want it!" The man's got power, 63% of his wins by KO TKO. And if he gets on top of you, he's not just punching your face, he's trying to cancel it. Add in a few subs and 6 first-round finishes, and you get a guy who doesn't come to dance. He comes to end your night before the popcorn gets cold. The problem? He's raw. Like, cooked chicken for 30 seconds and said it's probably fine, raw. In his UFC debut against Thiago Moises, he got picked apart with leg kicks, dropped in the third, and looked like he downloaded the wrong striking update. His hands are there, the aggression is real, but the technique? A little too bar fight outside Denny's for comfort. And against a technician like Mike Davis? That's a problem, but before we get there, Mike Beast Boy Davis coming in as a minus 900 favorite with a record of 11-3. All right, here comes Beast Boy, and let me tell you, this man is built like he should be patrolling Gotham. Boxing fundamentals, check. Power, check. Chiseled jawline that makes his chin a harder target, double check. Davis trained under Kevin Rooney, who also coached Mike Tyson. So yeah, we're not talking about your cousin's boxing coach in a garage, we're talking legit stand-up. Davis is slick, calculated, and if the fight stays standing, he's the kind of guy who will break you down like a BuzzFeed listicle. His jab is crisp, his bodywork is clean, and he throws combinations like he's trying to win a Golden Gloves and a bonus check. And the ground game? Yeah, it's there. Since training at Fusion Cell, his wrestling and grappling have tightened up. And he's no longer just a boxer in 4-ounce gloves, he's a mixed martial artist. Plus, he's shown cardio, fight IQ, and an ability to switch things up when plan A isn't working. Now, he did just lose to Fares Ziam via decision, and that fight didn't exactly make the highlight reel. He looked tentative, struggled to find his rhythm, and got picked apart by range. But here's the thing. Mitch Ramirez is no Fares Ziam. He's not going to sit back and counter. He's coming forward with the finesse of a toddler sprinting at a birthday cake. So, who wins? Let's be real, this is Davis's fight to lose. He's cleaner everywhere, boxing, movement, grappling, defense, takedown control, everything. He should be able to pick Ramirez apart on the feet, or if he's feeling charitable, take him down and punch him until the ref gets tired of watching. But, and it's a big old but, Ramirez is dangerous early. He swings hard, bites down, and believes in his fists like they're lottery tickets. If he lands something early, Davis is going to need a chin check real quick. This fight isn't about Ramirez outclassing Davis. It's about whether or not he can cause chaos fast enough to avoid a technical breakdown over 15 minutes. Still, the pick is clear. Official pick, Mike Beast Boy Davis. Give me the experience, the composure, and the man who didn't get chopped down by leg kicks like he was made of IKEA parts. Davis likely keeps it standing, avoids the blitz, and either wins a clean decision or melts Ramirez by round 2. If he feels spicy, we might even see a takedown or two for some ground and pound. Either way, Beast Boy gets it done, and maybe even adds another viral KO to the collection. All right, folks, get ready for another installment of Why Did We Book This Fight? Still, there's a fight to break down here, and believe it or not, Melissa Martinez is not just some sacrificial lamb with gloves on, she's a legit prospect. But the key word there is prospect. Let's dive in. Melissa Super Melly Martinez coming in as a plus 700 underdog with a record of 8-1. All right, you gotta love a nickname like Super Mealy. Sounds like a superhero who only fights crime on Sundays between brunch and kickboxing class. And credit where it's due, Martinez is talented. She's a fluid striker, throws good combos, and she's got that whole kickboxing karate hybrid style that's flashy, technical, and hard to read when you're not being bear hugged into the canvas. She looked great coming up on the regional scene, with a bunch of knockouts and that smooth, slick movement that had people whispering, future contender. The problem is, she hit the UFC, and it was like someone yanked the batteries out of her output meter. In her debut against Elise Reed, she just didn't pull the trigger. More athletic, more technical, still lost. That's like bringing a Ferrari to a race and forgetting to put it in drive. Her win over Alice Ardeline was solid, but again, she looked like a sniper who ran out of bullets halfway through. When she throws, it's clean. She's got beautiful front kicks, good angles, and enough pop in her shots to keep opponents honest. But in the grappling department, let's just say she's been trying her best. She's defending takedowns better now, she's scrambling smarter, but she's not offensively grappling. And when things hit the mat, she's still not out here submitting anyone. It's like watching a cat stuck in a blanket. It'll eventually escape, but it's not going to win any awards for efficiency. Fatima the Archangel Klein, coming in as a minus 1,100 favorite with a record of 7-1. Here comes Fatima, and let's be honest, the Archangel is the perfect nickname because when she wraps up your neck and starts sinking that rear naked choke, it really does feel like you're seeing the light. This woman does not mess around. Black belt in BJJ, dominant wrestling, and a grappling style that's less flowy jiu-jitsu artist, and more mom who's had enough and is dragging you out of the store by your collar. Fatima doesn't just shoot takedowns, she kidnaps you into her world and then locks the doors. And yeah, she's got hands too. That's the scary part. She's not just diving for legs like it's 2009. She's working behind a jab, pressuring with feints. And if she clips you, she's following you to the floor and it's bedtime. Her only loss came to Jasmine Jasudavicius, and that was up a weight class, so no shame that, especially with the run Jasmine is on. Her transitions on the ground are clean, she chains submissions like it's an assembly line, and she's strong. Physically stronger than most in her weight class, which makes escaping from her grip about as productive as arguing with airport security. So, who wins? Let me just say this. Melissa Martinez is no joke. She's technical, she's smart, and if this were a kickboxing match, I might even favor her. But this ain't a kickboxing match. This is MMA, and Fatima Klein isn't going to stand around admiring Martinez's clean striking. She's going to shoot in, trip her like a high school bully, and start working that grappling magic. There's a world where Martinez keeps range, uses her footwork, lands clean shots, and frustrates Fatima. That world exists, but it's about as real as Wakanda. Official pick, Fatima, the Archangel, Klein Layup City. Barring a flying head kick from the gods, Fatima closes the distance, gets this to the ground, and goes to work. Could be a sub, could be a TKO from Mount, could just be 15 minutes of control, so dominant Melissa starts Googling wrestling schools. Give me Klein by sub or dominant decision, and maybe let's all agree not to fade her again until she runs into a legitimate top 10 buzzsaw. This ain't that. This is an execution with an ESPN Plus subscription. Alright, this is one of those weird crossroads fights. You got Kennedy Nzechukwu, who's been light-heavy in the streets and heavyweight in the sheets, versus Walter Walker, a dude who looks like he was grown in a Brazilian fight lab next to a vat of creatine and unfinished Muay Thai combos. Kennedy's trying to prove he belongs with the big boys, while Walter Walker is just trying to prove he's not a footnote in his brother's Wikipedia page. Let's break it down before the cage gets dented. Kennedy, the African savage, Nzechukwu, coming in as a minus 240 favorite with a record of 14-5. Kennedy's the kind of fighter who'll stare you down from across the cage like he just found out you texted his sister. He's got power, he's got range, and he fights like he just discovered that front kicks are legal and delightful. Since moving to heavyweight, Kennedy's been fighting like a guy who knows he doesn't have to cut weight anymore, and it shows. He's bigger, more durable, and walks into the cage like he just woke up from a nap and remembered he punches like a Ford Escort. 10 of his 14 wins are knockouts, and when he gets into rhythm, it's like watching someone slowly chop down a tree with malice. But, and it's a big but, like heavyweights shouldn't throw spinning back kicks kind of but, his durability isn't exactly legendary. His chin is kind of like dial-up internet. It works most of the time, until it really doesn't. And in this division, you don't get a lot of second chances when you mess up a defensive read. He's also had a pretty soft landing at heavyweight so far. Let's be honest, the last guys he fought, let's just be nice and say they weren't UFC material. This time, he's facing an actual grappling threat with a motor and a neck-snatching habit. If Kennedy doesn't control the range early and starts getting dragged into clinches or takedowns, things could turn into a slow, suffocating nightmare. Walter, the clean monster Walker, coming in as a plus 185 dog with a record of 13-1. Now this guy is interesting. First off, that nickname sounds like a brand of eco-friendly dish soap. But don't be fooled. Walter is not here to clean gently. He's here to drag your leg into a different time zone and twist it until it looks like a Twizzler. Walter's a jiu-jitsu specialist. with a growing striking game, and the kind of physique that makes you think he lifts not for aesthetics, but because he's preparing to carry his opponent's souls to the underworld. He's submitted back-to-back UFC opponents with heel hooks, which is basically MMA's version of a jump scare. You think you're fine, and suddenly you're tapping while trying not to scream like a Disney villain falling off a cliff. At 6'6" and 245 pounds, Walter is built like a haunted apartment building. Huge and full of dark grappling energy, his takedown game is strong, and he's surprisingly smooth with his transitions. But the cardio, oh boy. Watching him in round 3 is like watching your Wi-Fi go out mid-Netflix binge. The effort is there, but it's just not connecting. And on top, he sometimes lets guys hang around. He's got all this size and jiu-jitsu skill, but sometimes he holds position like he's saving energy for the post-fight buffet. If he gets on top of Kennedy and doesn't do damage or threaten a sub, that's a dangerous gamble, especially if Kennedy starts landing up kicks from underneath like he's swatting flies with bricks. So who wins? This one's spicy. If it stays on the feet, Kennedy's going to be flicking out that jab like he's trying to unlock a vending machine. His range, power, and footwork all give him a clear edge, especially early. If he can keep this at kickboxing distance, he'll wear Walter down. But if it hits the mat, Houston, we have a heel hook. Walker's got the grappling to ruin Kennedy's night and twist a leg into a retirement speech. And Kennedy's not exactly known for scrambling like a D1 wrestler. And then there's the gas tank issue. If this gets sloppy late, and spoiler alert, it probably will, one guy has better finishing instincts on the ground, and it ain't the African Savage. Official pick, Walter, the clean monster. Walker. Yeah, I'm rolling with Walter. Kennedy is slick and dangerous on the feet, but this is the biggest, strongest, and most dangerous grappler he's faced at heavyweight. And I think Walker drags him into deep waters and either gets a sub, or grinds out an ugly decision with top control and just enough activity to keep the ref from standing them up. Also, anytime someone says heel hook and heavyweight, I immediately assume someone's going to scream in pain and tap like they're late for brunch. Give me Walker by submission and maybe a little side bet on Kennedy trying to land a desperation spinning elbow just for old time's sake. So, let's talk about this next fight. Lauren Murphy walks into this fight at 41 years old, hasn't fought since TikTok was still fun, and has openly said she's retiring after this one. Meanwhile, Eduarda Moura is basically kicking in the UFC's front door with an 11-1 record and a style that says, I will submit your grandma and not apologize. So naturally, we've got two possible outcomes here. One last magical run for Lucky Murphy, or someone's going to sleep in under 5 minutes, and it ain't going to be the one named after Ronda Rousey. Lauren Lucky Murphy coming in as a plus 430 dog with a record of 16-6. All right, let's start with the fan favorite. Lucky Lauren Murphy, who's as tough as a $3 steak and just as chewy. Lauren's whole career is built on grit, persistence, and the ability to take a beating like she's trying to win a Tough Mudder made of fists. Her durability is legendary. Her style, not flashy, not fast, but consistent like your dad's 2002 Toyota Tacoma. You're not racing anyone, but you'll still get there. She's a BJJ brown belt. And when she gets top position, it's like trying to get your little cousin off you when he's pretending to be a backpack. Her ground and pound is mean, and her right hand has actually looked better in recent fights. She dropped Miesha Tate in 2022 and was throwing bombs like she just remembered she boxed in a past life. But she's 41, hasn't fought in over 2 years, and the last time we saw her, Jessica Andrade turned her into a live-action Mortal Kombat cutscene. Plus, this is her retirement fight, which sounds wholesome until you realize the UFC basically fed her to a buzzsaw as a parting gift. Here's your gold watch, Lauren, and also 15 minutes of pain. Eduarda Ronda Moura, coming in as a minus 650 favorite with a record of 11-1. And here comes Ronda, and yes, that's actually her nickname. Moura is the kind of fighter who walks into the cage with bad intentions and a roadmap to your neck. If she touches your hips, you're going down. If she gets on top of you, the only thing you're defending is your right to panic. She's got a high takedown rate, clean transitions, and rear naked chokes so slick, they should come with a no-slip warning. And if she can't find your neck, she'll punch your head through the canvas until the ref saves you like Liam Neeson. But hey, she's not perfect. Her striking is still a bit beginner-friendly. It's functional, but if Lauren could somehow stuff a takedown or two, it could turn into a slightly competitive kickboxing match. And by slightly, I mean she might last longer than the movie trailers before a Marvel film. The thing with Moura is she doesn't wait. She starts like she's double parked outside the arena. First round finishes, early takedowns, aggressive ground control. You can feel the urgency. She knows exactly what she wants, and unlike my ex, she follows through. So who wins? Look, Lauren Murphy is tough. She's made a career out of doing the thing no one expects her to do. She could absolutely survive the first round. Maybe even land a punch or two and make us wonder if there's some Rocky IV magic going on. But this feels less like Rocky and more like Logan, a gritty veteran, out for one last ride against a younger, stronger opponent with way more tools and nothing but upside. Mora's striking may not be elite, but she doesn't need it here. She just needs to get close, grab a leg, and the rest writes itself. If Murphy somehow gets top position or survives to round 3, she could maybe turn this into a greasy split decision, but it's a tall order. Official pick Eduarda Ronda Moura. This is classic prospect versus veteran matchmaking, and while Murphy has heart for days, Moura's going to bring this to the ground early and make it look mean. Give me Eduarda Moura by submission in round 1, possibly rear naked choke, possibly Murphy yelling ow in Portuguese. Let's just hope the UFC gives Lauren the mic afterwards so she can retire with a speech instead of a limp. Respect to the vet. But this feels like the young lioness is about to feast. All right, kicking off this pick'em showdown, we got Jake Matthews, who's basically Australia's favorite grappler-boxer hybrid. Don't tell Robert Whittaker. Jake's been in the UFC so long, he made his debut when Conor McGregor still had a man bun. Then we got Chidi Njokwani, aka Bang Bang. And no, that's not his Wi-Fi password. It's what happens when he throws a knee and someone's soul leaves their body. We got Jake versus Chidi, and this will either be violence or 3 rounds of, hey, do something, let's break it down. Jake the Celtic Kid Matthews, coming in as a -105 with a record of 21-7. Jake Matthews is the guy your parents would love if you brought him home. Respectful, well-spoken, and could probably choke your ex just by thinking about them. He's well-rounded, smart, and has this kind of textbook MMA vibe. His boxing is clean, his grappling is better than people give him credit for, and when he's favored in a matchup, he usually shows up like taxes and seasonal depression. He looked sharp against Phil Rowe, aggressive, clean combinations, even mixing in wrestling. But here's the eternal Jake Matthews question. Is he going to use the tools we know he has, or is he going to try to outbox a Muay Thai monster for 15 minutes like he's got something to prove to his gym coach? Jake can absolutely win this fight if he wrestles. Chidi doesn't love the ground game, and Jake has a solid top game. Jake has good submissions and good top control. He has 8 submissions on his record, but Jake's also a big-time counter-striker on the feet. He doesn't push the pace, doesn't throw first, and that can be a real problem when you're fighting someone with a longer reach, a higher output, and a nickname that sounds like a Quentin Tarantino character. But Jake is riding a 2-fight win streak, so his confidence is high. And Jake has a very underrated chin and really good striking defense. He has only been knocked out 1 time in 28 fights. That's pretty much legendary chin status. With crisp boxing and strong grappling, Jake is a tough test for anyone. Chidi Bang Bang Njokwani coming in as a -120 with a record of 25-10. Ah yes, Chidi. The man, the myth, the reason every middleweight with a functioning chin started praying more. Now fighting at welterweight, where he might be the only guy who cuts down from 6'3", and still looks like he skipped leg day and just loaded the knees with C4. The concerns with Chidi are well known. His cardio is iffy, especially in high-paced grappling fights, and he has a tendency to go full berserker early, then look like he's fighting in molasses by round 3. But here's the twist. Jake doesn't fight at a high pace, he doesn't push the gas pedal, and that might be the best-case scenario for Chidi's lungs. Also, Chidi's takedown defense has looked sharper at this new weight class. He's long, rangy, and strong in the clinch. If Jake doesn't proactively chain wrestle early, Chidi might just knee him out of consciousness or win a quiet, rangy kickboxing match. And that's the thing here, it's hard to see Chidi getting outstruck here. He is really fast and explosive. He is going to make Jake pay for trying to close the distance, and if Jake does clinch, I see him eating a lot of elbows. So, who wins? This fight is a real tough one to pick. Both guys have good striking, and both guys are vets. Jake has the tools to win, but he has to commit to a grindy, grappling-heavy game plan. If he tries to stand and counter Chidi for 15 minutes, he's probably going to get out-volumed, out-kicked, or eaten alive in the clinch. On the flip side, Chidi's chin isn't made of granite, and Jake's boxing is clean enough to sneak one through. But I really feel like he should start grappling in round 1 like a man possessed. If he doesn't, Chidi's going to have the space, reach, and freedom to land the cleaner, flashier shots. This one might be slower than expected, maybe even a little frustrating, but it's going to come down to whose style shows up stronger. And if Jake can get this fight to the ground, he wins. But I'm banking on Chidi keeping it standing and Jake's wrestling staying locked in the glove compartment. Official pick Chidi, Bang Bang, and Njokwani. Give me Chidi to win a close decision by outstriking Jake in a low-volume tactical kickboxing match. If Jake decides to wrestle for real, I'll look dumb. But hey, I've looked dumb for free on Twitter, Chidi by decision, maybe even with a few bang-bang moments in the clinch just to scare us. Alright, we got Max versus Chris. Let's set the table. Max Griffin is that dude who's been around forever and somehow still looks 32. Max Payne Griffin is known for two things. A, being tough as drywall, and B, sneaky power shots that make you think, wait, he dropped that guy? But Chris Curtis? That's the action man. He's not just a brawler, he's a southpaw technician who fights like someone who watched James Toney tape for fun and said, yeah, I'll take that. And a chin made of forged steel, please. Let's get into this. Max Payne Griffin, coming in as a plus 230 dog with a record of 20-11. So Griffin's been alternating wins and losses like he's got commitment issues. In fact, if you look at his recent resume, he's basically the bounce-back fight guy. But the twist is, he's not easy work for anyone. He's fought a who's who of solid names and never looks like a scrub. He's kind of the UFC's version of a gatekeeper who occasionally body slams the gate and tries to escape. He's a technical striker with decent volume, solid hands, and some real pop. 9 knockouts ain't nothing to sneeze at unless you're allergic to CTE. And when he gets going, he does a lot right. He pressures, he throws feints, he lands crisp 1-2s, and he can surprise guys with his speed and power. His takedown defense is solid at 69%. Nice. But his grappling defense did get exposed against Chiesa, who turned him into a backpack and forced the tap. Now Chiesa is a totally different beast than Curtis. Curtis doesn't even like grappling unless someone makes him. So Max might actually have the room to throw hands without the fear of getting turned into a pretzel. But the problem is, he's facing a dude whose entire style is based on not getting hit. So he might just be shadowboxing with consequences. Chris, the action man. Curtis, coming in as a minus 310 favorite with a record of 31-12. Chris Curtis is the dude your coach tells you not to spar with unless you want to start humming colors. The man fights like he's got a shield for a shoulder and an uppercut that's being smuggled through customs. He's a southpaw, technical boxer, and one of the most frustrating guys to exchange with because of that slick Philly shell peekaboo hybrid style that says, try to hit me, I dare you. Curtis has 82% takedown defense, which means if your plan A is wrestling, your plan B better be survive this pocket exchange. He thrives in tight spaces, countering with sharp hooks, uppercuts, and just enough body shots to make your liver question its contract with your torso. His main flaws? Leg kicks. He keeps that front leg planted like he's waiting for his food delivery, so if Max mixes in kicks, he could slow him down. Also, Curtis can be too patient, like reading Tolstoy between combos patient. Sometimes he'll wait so long for a counter opportunity that you forget he's actually in the fight. But when he turns it on, man looks like a street-smart robot who downloaded Boxing 201 and is now taking it out on your face. So, who wins? This fight is going to be about rhythm, range, and who blinks first. Max Griffin has the tools to make it close. He's got volume, pressure, and enough pop to keep you honest. If he pushes the pace, mixes in kicks, and doesn't fall into a boxing match, he can definitely make Curtis uncomfortable, but that's the problem. Falling into a boxing match is exactly what Curtis wants you to do. That's his trap. That's the bait. And if Max bites, he's gonna spend 15 minutes eating uppercuts like they're breath mints. Curtis is probably not going to blow him out of the water. He never really does. But he's incredibly good at winning rounds by being the cleaner, sharper technician. He slips, counters, and frustrates. And if Max slows down or gets reckless, bang, right hook from Newark. Unless Max suddenly turns into a high-volume leg-kicking machine or channels the ghost of Prime Carlos Condit, this is likely going to look like Curtis slowly outclassing him on the feet while never breaking a sweat. Official pick. Chris, the action man. Curtis. Give me Curtis by unanimous decision, maybe even a 30-27 clean sweep. I think Max brings the effort, but Curtis just lands the better shots, keeps the fight where he wants it, and controls the exchanges without taking unnecessary risks. Max might be pain, but Curtis is insurance. Reliable, covers everything, and leaves you wondering why you ever doubted him in the first place. Welcome to this week's edition of Someone's Probably Getting Cut, the reality show where two large men swing for the fences in hopes of not hearing the phrase, "We wish you well in your future endeavors." We got Junior Tafa versus Tuco Tokos. Let's break it down. Junior, the juggernaut Tafa, coming in as a minus 180 favorite with a record of 6-3. Junior Tafa is what happens when you order Mark Hunt on Wish, and accidentally get his younger cousin with a caffeine addiction. The man's a straight-up chaos merchant, a walking do not blink warning. If you gave him brass knuckles and 5 seconds to land a punch, he'd probably still do it faster and cleaner without the brass knuckles. Taffa's whole game is simple. Stand up, throw bombs, collect a check. His hands are fast for a heavyweight, but maybe not at light heavyweight. His kicks come from a real kickboxing background, and when he lands clean, guys drop like bad NFTs. This dude is the platonic ideal of first round or bust. It's fun, it's violent, it's also kind of stressful, like watching someone juggle knives while riding a unicycle over lava. But if you so much as hint at a takedown, he turns into a completely different fighter, and not in a good way, more like, why is this man rolling over like a sleepy dog kind of different? His ground game has more holes than a cheese grater, and anyone with even decent top control can turn him into a heavy bag on the mat. That's the story with all 3 of his pro losses. If you can survive the first round and take him down, it's suddenly your highlight reel. So really, this is a classic striker versus can you wrestle at all matchup, and in Taffa's world, if you're still standing after 5 minutes, that is the win condition. Tuco Tokos, coming in as a plus 140 underdog with a record of 10-5. Tuco Tokos sounds like a Mortal Kombat character who didn't make the final cut, probably because his special move was lying on top of people until they cried. But hey, that might just work here. Tuco's a solid regional fighter who's now staring at the win, or we're gonna need that locker room cleared out moment in his UFC career. He's on a 2-fight skid, and honestly, if you told me the UFC booked this fight as a final audition, I'd believe it. Hey Tuco, wanna stay on the roster? Cool, just don't get thunder punched by the big scary Aussie. His base is wrestling. He's strong, he moves well, and when he commits to takedowns, he can put guys on their backs. The issue is, he doesn't always do that. You'll see flashes, an entry here, a trip there, but sometimes it feels like he forgets what he's good at. It's like having a cheat code but refusing to press the buttons. The big if in this fight? If Tuco fights smart, if he doesn't get baited into a firefight, and if he doesn't slip on a banana peel during a takedown attempt, he can absolutely win this. He's never going to win on style points, but this isn't Dancing with the Stars, it's can you not die in the first round? So, who wins? If Junior Taffa keeps this on the feet, we're done early and violently. His speed, power, and killer instinct are legit, and Tuco's striking defense is a little close your eyes and hope for the best at times. But if Tuco goes to his wrestling early and often, he's got a clear path. He doesn't need to outclass Taffa. Just drag him into deep water and keep him down until the ref starts checking his pulse for activity. This is one of those fights where you look at the tape and think, one guy has a clear win condition, the other guy has a very loud plan A and no plan B. And when that plan A doesn't land early, we've seen what happens. Official pick, Tuco Tokos. I'm not proud of it, you're not proud of it. Tuco's probably not proud of it either. But grappling beats chaos if the grappler actually uses it. And I think Tuco knows this is his last lifeline. Give me Tuco by decision, maybe even a late sub if Taffa hits the cardio wall and just sort of emotionally checks out. Don't parlay it, don't trust it, just sprinkle and pray. Time to break down a heavyweight scrap that screams, somebody's going night-night. We've got Vitor Icao Petrino taking on Austin Lane. Both guys hit hard, both guys have questionable recent performances, and both guys look like they were built in a lab to terrify regional heavyweights. One's moving up in weight, the other's trying to stay employed. So yeah, the stakes are high and the margins are thin. Let's dive in. Vitor Icao Petrino coming in as a minus 650 favorite with a record of 11-2. So Vitor Petrino has entered his villain arc. Just last year, he was the surging light heavyweight prospect with tree trunks for arms and that I fight like I left the oven on kind of urgency. But now, he's riding a 2-fight finish-loss streak, and both were the kind that make you question your career, and maybe your choices in walkout music. First, Anthony Smith wrapped up his neck like it owed him rent. Then Dustin Jacoby turned his lights out like someone forgot to pay the electric bill. Rough stretch. But despite all that, Vegas still has him as a giant favorite here. Why? Because this ain't light heavyweight anymore. This is heavyweight. Welcome to the division where cardio dies and chaos lives. Petrino has big-time tools. Thunder in his fists, explosive double legs, and a solid chin when it hasn't been tested by professional punchers like Jacoby. He averages nearly 4 takedowns per fight and lands them at a 66% clip, which at heavyweight is basically GSP-level sorcery. These guys usually just hug and hope gravity does the work. Petrino, by comparison, is a technician. When he sticks to the plan, that's the rub. Petrino sometimes fights like he's in a Tekken match, mashing buttons, hoping for a combo finish. Against Anthony Smith, he shot a takedown with all the grace of a drunken giraffe and paid for it with his neck. But if he learns from those mistakes and leans into his wrestling here, he's got a golden opportunity to look like a problem in this new weight class. Austin Lane coming in as a plus 460 underdog with a record of 13-6. Austin Lane, former NFL defensive end, current human highlight reel, for better and worse. Lane is what you get when you cross a knockout artist with a roller coaster engineer. It's thrilling, it's terrifying, and you're never quite sure if it's going to end in celebration or an ambulance. He's massive, hits like a truck full of sledgehammers, and looks like a guy you'd cast in a reboot of Gladiators. 11 of his 13 wins are by knockout, and when he gets going, it's like trying to put out a grease fire with a bucket of gasoline. He's got decent kicks, uses ground and pound when he gets top position, and he's not afraid to stand and bang, and this is a heavyweight size, but the defense is a mess. This man has been knocked out 6 times. 6. That's not a red flag, that's a red billboard. He's also 37, which isn't ancient for a heavyweight, but when your game involves walking forward into gunfire hoping to land first, the miles add up quick. To his credit, he did beat Robelis de Spain with some surprisingly smart grappling, showing he can fight with a game plan, but then he followed it up by getting knocked out by Mario Pinto, whose striking resume makes Petrino look like Ernesto Hoost. Austin's chin is basically a piñata at this point, and the question isn't whether he can survive, it's how long he can delay the inevitable. Unless he lands early, it's a countdown. So, who wins? Look, this isn't rocket science. Petrino has the power, the youth, the wrestling, and frankly, the more complete game. If he just doesn't do anything dumb, huge if, he should win this fight comfortably. Take Lane down, ride him like a mechanical bull, and let attrition do its job. But if Petrino wades into a brawl thinking he's still at light heavyweight, Lane has the kind of power that can send a man to the moon. And he'll swing early often, and with the enthusiasm of someone trying to open a piñata at their own surprise party. Still, Petrino should be faster, more technical, and much more durable. Lane's been stopped 6 times. He slows down after a round. His defense is shakier than a soda can in a paint mixer. Official pick, Vitor Petrino. Let's not overthink it. Petrino by early finish. Either a big right hand drops Lane like a bad stock pick, or he takes him down and mauls him until the ref starts checking for vital signs. I'll say Petrino by first round TKO. As for betting, I wouldn't touch that minus 650 line with a stolen credit card. But if you want a greasy prop, round 1 finish or inside the distance. Because let's face it, these two are not going to need all 3 rounds. Time for a featherweight clash where both guys walk forward like reverse magnets to common sense. It's Nate the Train Landwehr versus Morgan, the last pirate Charriere. A brawl between a man who fights like he just chugged a gas station energy drink and a dude who looks like he'd win a sword duel in a Netflix period drama. Nate the Train Landwehr coming in as a plus 195 underdog with a record of 18-6. Now listen, if you don't love Nate Landwehr, that's a you problem. This man is the physical embodiment of what if Homer Simpson had cardio. He's the guy who walks out to fight already bleeding, already yelling, and already looking like he's been through 12 rounds. And it hasn't even started yet. Nate is all violence, all gas, no breaks. He averages more significant strikes per minute than some fighters do in an entire fight. And he throws them with the kind of reckless joy you only see in toddlers with permanent markers. He's like if you handed an energy drink to a lawnmower and told it to wrestle. The man has quietly leveled up too. His striking isn't just swing till something lands anymore. He's got a jab now. He uses leg kicks, and he'll even sneak in a well-timed takedown. Just to remind you that this chaos is calculated. He calls it kill or be killed. Translation, it's either fight of the night or he's waking up asking what day it is. Now let's not pretend he's untouchable. He's been KO'd before, and when you fight like a Red Bull gladiator, you're gonna eat some shots. His defense is, well, it exists, but it mostly consists of chin checks and good vibes. That's the trade-off. But if he can mix in takedowns and make this dirty, grimy, and exhausting, he can absolutely break Charriere down. Morgan, the last pirate, Charriere, coming in as a minus 250 favorite with a record of 20-11. Morgan Charriere looks like a guy who would have a trench coat full of secrets and a very sharp dagger. He's cool, composed, and violent in a very stylish European kind of way. If Nate is chaos incarnate, Morgan is the guy who calmly sets up a sniper shot while sipping espresso. This dude's striking is clean. He loves to snipe the body. He stopped Manolo Zucchini with kicks to the liver like he was auditioning for the next Mortal Kombat DLC. He's technical, he's patient, and when he lets his hands go, it's with purpose. He's not throwing for the judges, he's throwing to get you out of there. Charriere's biggest advantage here is his precision and shot selection. He doesn't waste movement, he doesn't rush. He picks his spots, and when he finds a rhythm, he's dangerous. If he can weather Nate's early storm, and you better believe a hurricane is coming, he could carve him up with body shots and counters all night. He's not bulletproof, though. He's dropped decisions before. He can be taken down, and we've seen moments where volume guys give him problems. The French pirate can be boarded if you're willing to take a few cannonballs along the way. So who wins? If Charriere stays long, stays calm, and mixes in those beautiful body kicks, he can definitely chew Nate up over 3 rounds, or even catch him with something devastating. But if Nate walks him down, gets in his face, makes it a dogfight, and adds some wrestling spice to the recipe, he can make Charriere look like he picked the wrong port. One's trying to download you with analytics, the other's just throwing rocks until you fall over. That's the fight. Official pick, Nate Landwehr via decision. Look, I get it. Picking Nate Landwehr is like betting on a raccoon to win a chess match. Technically unwise, but strangely possible if chaos ensues. I don't love the matchup for him on paper, but I trust the train to make it a war. If he can wrestle, stay relentless, and not get bodied by body shots, I think he edges it. Low confidence, high entertainment value, all aboard. Time for a featherweight scrap between 2 men who do not believe in reverse gear. It's Calvin, the Boston finisher Qatar, versus Steve Mean Machine Garcia. This one's got violence written all over it in all caps, bolded, and underlined in blood. Let's get into it before the first jab cracks a nose like a glow stick at a rave. Calvin, the Boston finisher Qatar, coming in as a plus 115 underdog with a record of 23-9. Calvin Qatar's nickname is the Boston Finisher, which is a little ironic because lately his fights have been less about finishes and more about how much CTE a man can respectfully accumulate over 25 minutes. But when he's on, he's one of the cleanest boxers in the game. Think jab so sharp it could fillet a tuna. Right hand straight out of a Massachusetts nightmare. His footwork is sound, his timing is crisp, and his jab could run for Congress. It leads everything. Defensively, he's better than people give him credit for. Unless we're talking about that Max Holloway fight, in which case, the less said the better. Qatar has a granite chin, but even granite cracks under 400 significant strikes. Still, he's shown he can take a beating, stay in it, and keep swinging. The bad news? He's lost 4 straight. The last time he saw a win, Tiger King was trending. His form has dipped, and while he's made some low kick adjustments since the Emmett and Allen fights, he's still very jab cross dependent. If you can neutralize his hands or out-volume him, he struggles to switch gears. Wrestling? Only when he's defending it. Kicks? Only if someone accidentally presses X on his controller. But if he gets in rhythm, he's like Boston Duncan, dangerous, underrated, and surprisingly hard to get rid of. Steve Mean Machine Garcia, coming in as a minus 140 favorite with a record of 17-5. Steve Garcia fights like someone told him every punch might be his last, and he believed them. This man doesn't throw combos so much as he unleashes chaos in sequence. 14 knockouts out of 17 wins. That's not a stat, that's a cry for help if you're his opponent. He's a southpaw, which makes him even more annoying to deal with for orthodox boxers like Qatar, because everything's coming from the wrong side like a surprise slap from your reflection. Garcia's game is pretty simple but brutally effective. Forward pressure, body kicks, looping power shots, and violence with a smile. He averages 2.38 knockdowns per 15 minutes, which is insane. That's 6th all-time in UFC history. That means if he sneezes on you, you're doing the stanky leg. But it's not all sunshine and spinning fists. Garcia's defense can be leaky. His aggression can put him in the danger zone, especially against good counter-strikers. And if you drag him into deep waters, he's been known to flail a bit. He's never really had to go full 5 rounds, and Qatar might just be the guy to push that pace. Also, let's be real, Garcia's nickname is Mean Machine, but the way he throws, he's more vending machine that's shaking itself off the bolts. So, who wins? If Qatar can survive the early blitz and find his rhythm behind the jab, this becomes a classic veteran sniper versus berserker kind of battle. If he slips those big left hands and counters, he can rack up damage, bank rounds, and maybe even wobble Garcia late. But if Garcia pressures early, mixes his strikes, and rips to the body, that Boston jab might not make it to round 2. It's classic technique versus pressure, steak tips versus monster energy, Mitt Romney versus a mosh pit. Official pick, Steve Garcia via KO. I hate picking against Qatar, but the dude's absorbed a career's worth of damage, and Garcia's power is the real deal. If Steve smells blood early, and let's be honest, he's always sniffing, he can absolutely crack Qatar and put him down. Low kick, big left hand, night-night. Let's hope Calvin at least makes him earn it. Otherwise, Boston's getting sent back to the harbor without a tea party. Time to break down a welterweight matchup that feels a lot like young lion versus beloved karate uncle. It's Stephen Wonderboy Thompson versus Gabriel Maritinha Bonfim, a fight that's either going to be a beautiful display of striking mastery or a reminder that Father Time has a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Let's dive in. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson coming in as a plus 300 underdog with a record of 17-8. Let's just start with the obvious. Wonderboy is 42. That means he's now officially older than some UFC champions and their striking coaches. But even at this age, the man still moves like he's moonwalking on anti-gravity tiles. That sideways stance, that bounce, those karate blitzes. He's the human equivalent of a taekwondo movie you watched on VHS at your cousin's house. He's a sniper, a ghost, a point-fighting wizard trapped in the body of a nice dad who might offer you a protein bar after knocking you out. His striking is still beautiful to watch. Hands low, hips ready, in a kicking game that can make even the best wrestlers flinch. His footwork and distance management are some of the best we've ever seen in the octagon. When he gets going, it's like watching a ballerina with nunchucks. But, and this is the part where every Wonderboy fan gets sad, he's slowing down. The speed, the reaction time, the cardio, all about one gear lower than it used to be. Guys are figuring out how to close that distance now, and when they do, they don't give him room to dance. They shoot, smother, and drag him into the grappling deep end. He used to stuff those takedowns like a Thanksgiving turkey. Now, he's getting planted more often than a home goods succulent. His recent 1-4 run, including getting knocked out by Joaquin Buckley, doesn't exactly scream title resurgence. But if he can keep this standing and frustrate Bonfim, he can still paint a masterpiece, or at least a really respectable watercolor. Gabriel Maritinha Bonfim coming in as a minus 420 favorite with a record of 17-1. Bonfim fights like he's got a plane to catch, and his jiu-jitsu black belt gets him through TSA faster. This dude is all action, all pressure, and all submissions. 17 wins, 13 by tap, and none of them via accidental fall into mount. This guy hunts. He's the younger brother of Ismael Bonfim, but he's the one who treats your neck like it owes him money. His last win over Chaos Williams? Yeah, he snatched up a Darce choke like it was a Black Friday deal, and he didn't even flinch doing it. He's improving his striking too. He showed it off against Williams. He'll throw with confidence and power, not just to knock you out, but to make you respect it long enough for him to level change and turn your limbs into jiu-jitsu origami. The concern? He's still a little raw in the cardio department. Against guys who can survive early, he starts to look a little like he left the stove on. Against Lusa, he looked human for a hot minute. But that's the trick. You have to survive the early waves, and most people don't. And let's be honest, if Bonfim even sneezes on Wonderboy's hips, this could get ugly on the ground fast. So, who wins? If Wonderboy can stay upright and keep range, he can frustrate Bonfim into overcommitting. That's how he's won a dozen of his fights. Slick movement, sneaky angles, and making you swing at ghosts. But if Bonfim cuts off the cage, throws heat early, and chains his takedowns like he's at a grappling seminar, he's going to turn Wonderboy into tap-out man, and not in a cool 2006 way. This one's going to be a test of range, youth, and grappling versus nostalgia, kicks, and that small voice in our head that just wants to see Wonderboy dance one more time. Official pick, Gabriel Bonfim by submission. It hurts to say it, we all love Wonderboy. He's wholesome, respectful, and throws spinning stuff. But Bonfim is a surging finisher with a grappling game that doesn't mess around. Unless Thompson pulls a vintage karate masterpiece out of his back pocket, Bonfim's going to turn this into a ground-based TED Talk titled, Why You Shouldn't Fight Grapplers at 42. Protect Wonderboy at all costs, just maybe not from Bonfim. It's Derek the Black Beast Lewis versus Taliesin Zicao Teixeira, one of the most violent punchers in UFC history, versus a guy who has 8 wins, 8 finishes, and exactly 0 opponents whose names you recognize before Googling them. Lewis is a KO artist. Teixeira is a can opener. Something's gotta give. Let's break it down before one of them punches a hole in the octagon floor. Taliesin Zicao Teixeira coming in as a minus 260 favorite with a record of 8-0. This dude has been steamrolling regional heavyweights like they owed him lunch money. 8 fights, 8 finishes, and only one poor soul even made it out of round 1. This man fights like he's double parked outside the arena and his opponent is between him and the keys. He's tall, long, young, and has cardio, which already puts him in the top 5% of modern heavyweights by default. He's got that snap in his strikes, throws heat with confidence, and he's aggressive to a fault. He's also got the one trait we always salivate over in heavyweights. He doesn't wait. He doesn't feel you out. He feels like ending you. But, and this is a heavyweight but, so it comes with its own zip code, we have no idea how this guy handles adversity. His toughest opponent was Arthur Lopez, and that man's topology page still has cobwebs on it. He's yet to face anyone with the KO power of a mid-sized sedan traveling at highway speeds. Which brings us to the problem, because when Derek Lewis hits you, it's not like, oof, that stung. It's like, where are my shoes and why is Joe Rogan screaming next to my unconscious body? This is a real test for Teixeira. We don't know how his chin holds up. We don't know what happens if he gets tired and someone doesn't crumble at the first flurry. And we definitely don't know how he handles a guy who can survive the onslaught and then go full KO button out of nowhere. Derek, the Black Beast Lewis, coming in as a plus 200 underdog with a record of 28-12. Look, Derek Lewis is basically the final boss of heavyweight violence. He's not here to wrestle. He's not here to jab. He's not even really here to defend himself. He's here to do one thing: knock your head into the fifth row and then take his pants off and scream that his balls were hot. And honestly, it works. He's got more knockouts in the UFC than most divisions have total fighters. The man holds the record for UFC knockouts at 15. He knocks people out the way some fighters throw leg kicks. He gets taken down, he just stands up. You can't explain it, there's no technique, it's just horsepower. Sure, he's older, and yeah, he can look flat sometimes. But the man has main event experience, and he's been in there with the elite. Gain, Tuivasa, Volkov, Blades, Spivak, you name them, Lewis has either KO'd them or gotten taken down by them. If you're a hype train rolling down the tracks, Derek Lewis is the moose standing in the middle of the road. You either swerve, or you find out what it feels like to get legally declared unconscious. So, who wins? If Teixeira comes out like he has in every fight so far, aggressive, swinging, trying to overwhelm, it might work. Lewis starts slow, he lets guys come to him. That's exactly what Teixeira does, and if the young gun has a chin, he might bully the old man. But the big question, what happens when Lewis fires back? Because unlike every other guy Teixeira has faced, Lewis only needs one clean shot. Doesn't matter if he's down 2 rounds. Doesn't matter if he's flat on his back. Doesn't matter if he's staring at the Jumbotron. If he touches your chin, there's a 911 call involved. If Lewis doesn't land the bomb early, Teixeira could put volume on him, wear him down, and either get the finish or win a dominant decision. But if Lewis lands, lights out. Official pick, Derek Lewis by KO. Teixeira looks good. His offense is explosive, violent, and fun. But he's been crushing cans. Lewis is a tank with fists and rage issues, until Teixeira shows he can handle someone who can eat a few shots and send back one nuclear warhead in return. I'm not buying the hype. I've seen too many dudes walk in confident and leave staring at the roof of the T-Mobile Arena. I'll take Lewis, the chaos, and the fireworks. Also, his balls will be hot. If you enjoyed this, go ahead and smash that like button. If you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss a beat when the next video drops. And don't be shy. Leave a comment below and let me know who you got winning this fight. Let's see who really has the crystal ball around here. Until next time.